So previous class, we completely understood what Pega is, and then we concluded Pega is used for developing internal applications. And even in the last session, we understood will be the certifications in Pega and kind of like its cost and other things, right? Okay, let's continue further now. So maybe today, if you join some company as an Pega developer, okay, so you are supposed to work for some client, right? Maybe City as your client. So City will be having n number of internal applications. It might be having on main website. What Pega team will never bother about that. So this will have internal applications. So maybe one such application is to develop their loan related portal. Okay, maybe one application something related to design their credit card related thing. So maybe like account creation related things. So maybe some application related to their employee salary management. So we as a Pega developer from this vendor company should design this first application completely. Maybe then second one, maybe then third one. So today your manager can give you task to design this application, right? So consider this as our loan creation application. So generally as part of loan creation, what will be this application all about? Suppose if you go for a bank and ask for anything about like loan, what will be this application design? That is what. So initially there will be kind of registration, right? You are supposed to register yourself within that bank, right? So maybe to design your registration screen. So they will be generally collecting your first name, last name, age, mobile number, and few other important things, right? So this as a whole might be developed using Pega for designing screen number one. So once you completed this registration screen, next day your manager is asking you to design registration screen even for this portal also. So here also you are supposed to design similar again, right? Again, you have to go for first name, last name, age, mobile number, and maybe images, drag and dropping everything. So after you completed screen number one here, next day, your manager is asking you to design screen number one even for this application. Maybe designing screen number one for even of this application. So once you completed designing this registration screen everywhere, there you understood something you have done like repeated work. Am I correct? So whatever the registration design you have done for portal number one, similar design you are doing it again. Similar design you are doing it again. So you as a Pega developer, whatever the task you are given, you are first supposed to understand the work what we are doing today, to what extent it will be reused in future. So here I'm doing, here again I'm doing, here again I'm doing. So if you're trying to do the same repeated again and again, so there will be something kind of performance delay. Am I correct? Okay, if performance is dropped, then there will be something kind of score will be reduced. What is the score about technically? I'll talk about. So finally, for one single client, there will be a number of business processing applications. So there will be common development between all these things. In such scenario, you should not do anything at its implementation level individual. So you are supposed to do something at like reusable point. So consider if this is one reusable point, maybe like library kind of. So if I can create first name, last name, age, mobile number, what are all the reusable things at this library point? So we can use those into my application number one. Am I correct? And even in application number two, if I wanted to use those things again, I can simply reuse it here, right? Maybe in the third one, I can simply reuse it. Maybe in future, if I'm having like 3 more or n number of extra applications added up, so what are all the content ready today at this common point, you can reuse it for n number of times, right? So this common point, whatever we are seeing, this we call it as framework. Okay, so framework is something where it will be maintaining all the reusable components. Okay, and the content available at framework can be used into application number 1, maybe 2, 3, 4. And all these applications, whatever you are seeing below, these are to be called as implementation applications. Okay, so earlier we are understanding this as business processing applications, right? That is common language. But in Pega, these applications are to be considered as implementations. Okay, fine. So finally, there are two types of applications. One is like framework type and the other one is like implementation type. So ultimately, implementation is something which is like business generating for the client. So this is one implementation which will be generating the business. So between n number of implementations, just to maintain commonly development work, we go for something like reusable point, what we technically call it as framework. So the best way to design your structure, your organization structure should be, so there must be something like framework maintained immediately. And connected to framework, there must be an implementation 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 likewise. Okay, so you as a Pega developer can be given tasks to work on this credit card application only. So it is your call to understand what part is reusable, what is not reusable. If you feel something as reusable, you maintain it somewhere at the top and get it used below. Okay, suppose you are supposed to design one credit card application. Your manager is simply giving you one mock-up and design here as screen number 1. There you see image and there you can see one small video asking for first name, last name, and something like credit card amount. So credit card type, maybe credit card score, and something like CIBIL score. Okay, so you are supposed to design this screen. Now here, if you can understand, this is something like Citibank logo, which is commonly used to be, which is to be used in all the implementations below, right? So better to maintain such image at this point. And if the video, whatever it is showing, if this is related to only credit card, then you maintain at this point. You need not create at the top level. And maybe out of below 10 fields. So I see first name and last name will be used maybe at second one and third one in future also. So better to create first name and last name here. And everything below might be related to credit card. You simply maintain it here. So ultimately you are supposed to design a screen. You have to drag and drop the things, right? So you can get few things from the top and maybe few things from here. Finally, one screen will be designed. So that is what you have to correlate. Maybe the next day, if you're supposed to design screen number 1 here, and I wanted to include similar image, Citibank logo, and maybe one small video, and first name and last name, and other things are like little different. Loan amount, loan type. So here what you can understand. So maybe these 4 or 5 things, if those are reused, you might be maintaining it framework by this time, right? So you are first supposed to check in framework whether someone else has created it or not. Maybe if I'm a developer here, so I'll be creating few things here and I'll be creating few other things at this point. So you are a developer here. So you will be understanding first name, last name might be reusable. So you don't go to framework and create anything again. So you have to first check whether someone might have created here or not. So it must be there by that time. So you should be in a position to use from above. And what are all the other things? Again, you have to cross check whether someone else has worked on, maybe data is there or not. If not, you have to create and use it here. So this is how you have to design a screen. Okay, so every time screen must be designed with these best practices, making use of framework related design as well as implementation related design. Now, what will happen if I'm not creating anything at framework? Suppose here I can see total 10 things, right? So if I create all the 10 things here and use it here, will I not get output? 100% you'll get. And here also, maybe this is application number 2, right? Here also, I wanted to design with same 10 things. In that scenario, again, if I'm creating it manually here and using it, no doubt, again, I'll get the same output. Similarly, the same 10 things, if I'm creating again and using it for third application, no doubt you'll get the output. So here, after we as a developer developing, so you are getting like best output, right? So if I'm like tester here, what I will do? So I'll be just cross-checking whether I'm getting correct output or not. So how did you design? Is it followed with best practices or not? I'll not bother. I don't know that technical things, right? As a tester. And maybe after testing, there will be something called UAT phase. UAT meaning the real users will come. So even they'll not bother about whether you followed best practice or not. They'll just cross check whether the expected output and reality wise same or not. And finally, if you're not following best practices here, then performance will be poor. What do you mean by performance? Suppose if I'm a bank employee. Okay, if I'm a bank employee, I'm using this credit card application. So I'll be using this for registering hundreds of customers per day. Okay, so maybe from morning till evening, I'm trying to register 50 customers. Okay, 50 customers. There I can complain to my manager saying like, so registration is taking long time. So the same application earlier it was with maybe .NET. So there we used to register almost like 100 customers per day. Now because of we going for Pega and because of some bad practices, so the system is very slow. So whatever the content we generally supposed to be maintaining at one time, we are maintaining it for n number of times and releasing, so performance will be poor. So if performance is poor, then what these clients will think about? So they think like Pega is not doing good, right? So they can cancel Pega license, right? In that scenario, who will be like lost here? Pega team, not like we developer from TCS team. So we'll be working with this client maybe for 2 years or 3 years. So then our contract will be done. So this end product, who has to use? Client. And who has to support them continuously? Pega. So Pega is like getting affected if this is like performance issues identified later. So that is the reason. So Pega person, there will be one dedicated person from Pega team who will be involved in each and every related part. Okay. And this particular person, what he has to do is he has to cross check whether development is running perfectly or not as per best practices. And testing is going good as per the best practices or not, and maybe everything. So how he can identify whether we are following best practices here or not? It's not that simple for him to monitor each and every developer here. And it's not that simple for him to monitor each and every task what I'm trying to do. So January 1st, what is the task given for me? How I have done. January 2nd, next, each and everything he cannot closely monitor me, right? But he has to get some solution for following everything in the best practice. So what happens is, so if this is our end client, so day one, your client will be getting license from Pega team. And this particular Pega project might be distributed between different companies, right? As I told you. So development might be given for TCS and maybe testing might become given for different company. So maybe deployment can be given for different company, whatever it is. So daily there will be business analyst calls or there will be client related meetings. So in that client related meeting, so no doubt client will join, maybe at least one person from development team, one person from testing team, maybe person from deployment. So we all will join, right? Along with all these things, one person from Pega systems team also will be dedicatedly join. So this will be known at the high level. Okay. So this person duty here is to cross check whether everything is perfectly running or not. So maybe within this TCS, there will be one development manager, right? And n number of development team members will be there. So today, if you're joining here as a team member, so manager here will give you some tasks. Okay. So in that scenario, you should understand whether the work you are given with, is it like reusable or not? If it is reusable, you have to maintain at framework level. If not, you will be maintaining at implementation level. So if we are doing everything at implementation level and getting the output, that is okay. But it's not best practice, right? Who has to identify all these things? Your manager. So here your manager should monitor each and every team member's work. It's not just to get the output. It has to be like in the best practice. So can he even at least monitor every one of us? So can he monitor at each and every task level? No, even he cannot do anything, right? Suppose, or generally what happens is, if the member joining here is just like a beginner or fresher, so here manager daily they'll give him tasks and they'll call him for code review. What is the task given for you and what you have done, how you have done. So why did you follow this thing? Please follow that. So they'll try to correct it. But this cannot happen on daily and manually. And that too, if this person is on leave for a few days and this whole work might not be again backed up and it cannot be monitored. Okay, so finally what happens is, there will be every application, as I told you, maybe credit card application, loans application, whatever. Each and every application, there will be something like compliance score. Okay, so technically we are calling it as compliance score. Compliance score meaning whether this application is completely healthy or not. So in this application, whether development and testing, everything is like going good or not. So if something is not as per best practice, immediately Pega has got one powerful algorithm. Okay, it has got something like rule resolution algorithm, what we call it as. So it has got one powerful algorithm to check the best practice, and it will be reducing the score to something like 90, 92, 93. So if score is not 100, no doubt this person will get a call to this person. Okay. And this manager should understand where is like went wrong. Okay. And if the score is not 100, there will be something like a justification to be provided. So what is the warning about and who has like generated this warning also, you'll be getting it. So and so person maybe with the name Ravi has not followed best practice. That is what our algorithm will identify. So manager will simply call that Ravi person and he will ask what is the error about, what is the task for that and what you have done and what is the other things like this. So finally, each and every Pega developer should follow best practices in terms of creating reusable things at framework level and creating specific things at implementation level. So this is something like framework, and which might be having one credit card application, one loans application, one accounts application. So you are supposed to design few things here and maybe few things here. And if you're supposed to design this one, you should first understand whether those are already maintained in framework or not. In this way, you have to design it. Make sure every application score to be 100%. This is what. So framework application is something where it will be maintaining all the reusable components. And implementation is something where it will be maintaining its own specific components. Getting my point? Specific components. Okay, so clear, right, every one of you so far? Online, everyone following, right?
Yes, Chandra.
So now I'll ask you one small thing. You people has to answer this. Hmm. So suppose if I'm supposed to design this credit card application, consider one more thing. So maybe if this is like SBI Bank, okay, we know SBI, right? So SBI will be having, okay, day one client here will say like, I want a total 6 applications. Okay, so one is for loans, one is for accounts, one is for credit card. Okay, and one is for one is for life insurance, and one is for vehicle insurance, and one is for property insurance. Okay, so total 6 applications is what client wanted. So here business analyst has to create the applications, right? So now tell me how many applications we have to create. Total 6. So if this is my implementation 1, which is loans, and if this is like accounts, if this is like credit card, and if this is like life insurance, and if this is like medical insurance, and if this is like property insurance. So no doubt between all these 6 applications, there will be kind of reusable things. Kada? So if I'm trying to create one framework and connect for all these 6, that is enough, right? That is enough. Okay, now I'll ask you. So if I'm supposed to design one credit card or loans application to include first name, last name, maybe like bank ID, okay, bank ID and loan amount. So now tell me where you will create this first one. First name where you will create. Is it at framework level or implementation?
It's in framework.
So you have to maintain at framework level. So what about this last name? Last name
Framework.
looks reusable, right? Where you will create?
Framework.
And what about this bank ID?
Implementation.
Bank ID. So if you are creating at implementation level, okay. So will I not have bank ID at account creation? In account creation, so will I not have first name, last name, and bank ID and account type? So here I can see bank ID again, right? So if you are creating at implementation 1, you cannot use it into second. That is the problem. So now tell me bank ID where you will create. Framework, right? Come on. Bank
Yes.
ID you have to maintain at framework level. What about this loan amount?
Implementation.
Implementation. So you'll be creating loan amount here. Okay. Now I have to design first name, last name, bank ID, and account type. So these first 3 are already available in framework. I can use it. And account type, if I create here, that is enough, right? Okay. Now I have to go for something like first name, last name, credit card type. So these 2 are anywhere there. I can use credit card type, right? So here I want to use first name, last name, and vehicle number. Sorry, the loan. Life insurance kada? Okay. Policy number. So now tell me, first name, last name are already here. What about policy number? Policy number, is it only at implementation level? So will you not have policy related to medical? Will you not have policy related to property insurance? You will have it, right? So where you will maintain? So if you are maintaining it somewhere at the parent, that is enough, right? So if you closely understand, policy number will be reused only at these 3 points. And then bank ID will be maintained at only at these 3 points. Okay, so if you are maintaining everything at framework level, which is connected for all the 6, then bank related things also might be used at these 3 places, right? And insurance related these things also might be used at this point, right? So what is the point of proper segregation you have done? Not clearly, right? So you are supposed to again understand maintaining multiple frameworks. It's not just one single. Okay, if I'm having different type of applications, go for different frameworks. So just to understand this, what you have to do is you have to go for something like banking framework and something like insurance framework, and within which you should be connecting its own implementations, maybe account, maybe loans, and maybe credit card, and here vehicle insurance, and here property insurance, and here you'll be going for something like medical insurance. In this way you have to do it. Okay, so all the reusable things between these 3 you'll maintain it here. All the reusable things between these 3 you'll maintain it here. Okay, so now tell me, if I'm supposed to create first name, last name, bank ID, and CIBIL score, and account number. So this first file looks reusable, right? Come on. So you'll be creating somewhere at this banking framework. Am I correct? First name, last name, bank ID, everything. Account number alone is what you'll create it here. Fine. So now coming to this design. So here I want first name, last name, age, vehicle number, and policy number. Now tell me where you'll maintain first name, last name, all these things. Someone from online, please unmute and talk. So what you do
Framework.
for this first name and last name?
Framework. We can create one framework.
Framework.
And last name and age even. These three looks reusable between all these three, right? Vehicle number is something unique to be maintained here. Policy number is to be maintained across all these three. So no doubt policy number I can create it here. First name, last name, age, again you are trying to create here, right? So if you are trying to create first name and last name again and again, what is the point? Are you not having first name and last name earlier created? Come on. You earlier created this, right? Now again I wanted to use between these three. So if you are trying to create at framework level, how it can be used into framework 2? So somewhere again design going wrong. Okay, so now what you have to again understand is, so you are supposed to again maintain one more framework, something like main FW. Got it? And something related to bank FW and something related to insurance. Now you can have all these three implementations connected and maybe different three connected here. So today you as a Pega developer will be given access for these implementations only. Okay, so you will be given with some mock-up or screenshot to design this. First name, last name, something about bank ID and something about like credit card. So you should understand first name and last name will be applicable in all the implementations, not only just these three. You should maintain here. And this bank ID, no doubt it is to be applicable for the implementations under this sector, right? So you'll be creating bank ID here, maybe credit card related here. So if you are designing this loans or maybe vehicle insurance, and by the time, if you wanted like first name and last name, those are already available here. You can use it. And insurance related, you can use it. And implementation level also, you can use it. In this way, how to. Okay. So understood with this design, right, everyone? Online, everyone clear? Online is everyone clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'll ask you one more question. So this is my main framework, and this is something about like banking framework, and this is something like insurance framework. So this is my credit card application, this is my loans application, this is my accounts application. So this is medical insurance, this is property insurance, and this is about like vehicle insurance. Okay, so I'll quickly ask you. So if you are supposed to design this, first name and last name, these things you are creating here, and banking related and implementation level. So today we are having some vehicle insurance application, and this vehicle insurance application is meant for any kind of vehicle related. Suppose if I go to insurance company and ask for two-wheeler, they'll ask me to go to counter number 3. Okay, so this is like complete insurance company, what you imagine. So this is like counter number 1, 2, and 3. Here one employee will be there, right? So if I go to the bank or insurance company and ask for two-wheeler, they'll ask me to go to counter number 3. And maybe other person if he's coming and asking for four-wheeler vehicle insurance. So still they're asking us to go to counter number 3. Maybe something like heavy vehicle insurance, again same. So now management here wanted to decide to maintain separate applications, one for two-wheeler and one for four-wheeler. Getting my point? So you'll be creating one more implementation. So now if you are supposed to design this one, so maybe first name is what I have to create. So tell me first name where you'll maintain? Main framework. And then, okay. And if I'm supposed to design something like policy number, where you'll create?
Insurance.
Insurance. Maybe if you are supposed to design vehicle number, where you will design?
Vehicle implementation.
Implementation level. If you are supposed to design tire size, okay, and something like tire type, so engine number, so where you'll maintain all these three things?
In
We can
vehicle,
create one separate framework.
Where you'll maintain
Separate frame.
separate framework. Okay, so if you're designing everything at this implementation level, no doubt you'll get the output. So again, those are to be reused here, right? Which cannot be blindly possible. If you are maintaining a framework, you can use it, but it might be used at this point also. What is the point there? So that is the reason. So what you'll do is, so we'll be maintaining one more framework here. So you are supposed to maintain one more framework, maybe vehicle insurance, vehicle framework, within which two-wheeler can be something below, maybe four-wheeler can be something below. Instead of four-wheeler, again, if you're having heavy vehicle as separate, within heavy vehicle, maybe four-wheeler, maybe 10 tire related, whatever it is. So all these things are frameworks. Am I correct? So in your entire application or organization structure, so ultimately implementations are something to be managed ultimately. So just to manage this implementation smoothly, there can be n number of frameworks. So that depends upon your project complexity. Okay, so don't simply create frameworks or don't maintain without frameworks also. So that completely depends upon your project structure. Okay, so maintaining n number of frameworks is not like performance killing. It is like actually reusable. So you'll be having Sibyl's, what is it, compliance score getting better. Okay. So finally, I'll ask you one thing. So I wanted to design with 10 implementations. I wanted to design 10 implementations. So can I get everything expected output without maintaining single framework? Can I get output or not? Come on.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I can get output. And even with multiple framework also, you'll be getting the output. Okay. Suppose we all are starting a bank with the name ABC in Hyderabad. Okay. So this being one startup bank, we wanted to start with only credit card design initially. Only one implementation is enough, right? So in future, whether we'll create another one or not, we are not still sure. So today, my plan is to just to go for only one credit card application. So I wanted to go with Pega. So now tell me, so implementation is one single enough, right? So do we really require framework in this case? Only one implementation is enough for me now. So do we really require framework in this case? Chip and all in one. Come on.
we require Chandra, because if in future, if you want to use that framework, we can use it. Again, we don't want to write.
Okay. So if I'm trying to go with framework and below which is my implementation. So this is approach number one. This is approach number two. Okay. So ultimately I have to design this implementation. So if I create a framework and has to be used in implementation only, no? And if I can directly design at implementation, still I'll get the same output, right? So now is approach one best or two best in danger, Pali? What do you have to say? Approach two only. Why? Why? Maybe after 2 years or 3 years, if I wanted to expand something to design loans application. Okay. So by that time, if I'm having something reused, if I'm having something ready, so it can be easy for us to expand it. So if there is no framework at that time, again, you have to design this from beginning, right? Again, you have to design the third one from beginning. So maybe if you wanted to expand your business to different sector, so maybe you are at banking sector today, you wanted to expand yourselves to retail sector, maybe like insurance sector, without having those many customized frameworks, you cannot proceed. So Pega today, they are saying like maintaining at least one framework is must. At least one. Without framework also, you can get the output. Okay. Consider Airtel as one organization. Okay. We all know Airtel, right? This is what? telecom related part. So here, consider I'm like an customer service representative. I don't know anything about Pega. I'm customer service representative. So generally, who all the customers call to me, I'll be using this application, right? And this application might be developed by development team like you sometime before. So here I worked in Airtel for few years. And then I'm trying to switch my company to something like Vodafone. Okay. So I'm like a customer service representative here. And then I'm trying to switch to different company like Geo. Okay. And something related different. So under telecom related, whatever the application one, maybe Airtel application will be similar to Geo application, right? And Geo application will be something related to something different telecom application, right? So more or less telecom applications between different clients, it will be little similar. Okay. And if you take like medical related part, so if you look at something like KIMS application portals, it will be little similar to, so something like Apollo related design, right? It will be something related to Citizens Hospital related design. And if you see something related to insurance, so you take any insurance company, maybe like Bupa, so which will be similar to something different insurance company. So under one domain, maybe telecom domain, maybe medical domain or insurance domain or retail domain, whatever it is. So under one domain, more or less applications will be little similar. Client to client, internal things might different, but overall things will be little different, right? So what today Pega they are doing is, so they are trying to no doubt design a product like Pega, which is to be called as PRPs. I'll talk about later. So Airtel, what they're trying to do, they're first trying to get the Pega license. So after they getting Pega license, they are supposed to design one framework, maybe n number of implementations, right? Even these frameworks, what Pega is selling today. So Pega is having some kind of smart frameworks designed from their end also. Okay, so frameworks will be something under telecom sector, maybe like banking sector, maybe insurance sector or retail sector. So if client is having something related to telecom requirement, first he has to get Pega license, and then if required, so he can purchase this framework also. So most of the content can be reused. From there, he can simply go for adding n number of implementations connected. So designing this framework from their end might take 2 to 3 years of time. Okay, so maybe if you're starting ABC Bank today, first thing I have to get Pega license, right? Second thing, no doubt I have to maintain at least one framework. From there, I'll expand it. This framework part, I may design or I can get it something purchased separately. So this also will be like costly. So here we are the clients, right? So if we are having enough manpower, so if I'm having enough time to wait for 2 years, then I can get this framework completely developed by my development team here. So if I don't think like enough time, I can simply purchase it from Pega things. So Pega is giving two things. Pega is giving like product for us, as well as it is preparing n number of frameworks and can be used. So after you getting the framework, on top of it, additionally, if you wanted to create your own frameworks, and if you wanted to maintain implementations connected, however it might be, we can proceed. So finally, you should understand the entire structure should be having n number of frameworks depending upon your project complexity. So in interviews, straight away they'll ask you to draw your previous organization structure. They'll simply give you pen and paper, and they'll ask you to draw your current organization structure. So there you might be drawing it like maybe ABC as one organization. So it might be having something like framework, and below which framework 1, maybe framework 2, framework number 3, and here implementations, different implementations, again one more framework. So likewise, you will be drawing n number of applications connected, right? Okay, so if we are completely drawing this structure, So interviewer, he might ask you some questions on top of it. So consider this as like banking framework, and this is something related to credit card application. So after he seeing this structure, he might ask you, what is this credit card application all about? So tell me about this application in just a single line. So you might say like, so this application is mainly to create work object IDs, that is to register one credit card related thing. And before you giving credit card, so you'll be searching for your customer PAN card number, right? We have to check for his eligibility, right? So eligibility here in India will check based on CIBIL score. CIBIL score is something like RB application or CIBIL application where it will be maintained. So here after entering PAN card number, it has reached to this application and they will be processing and sending back the some data, right? So if your application here is connected to something third-party application, why is this not included in your structure? That is what they'll ask. So they just wanted to check whether your application is connected with any external applications or not. In that scenario, are you like service requester or are you like service provider? So maybe if I'm a developer at RBA level, I'm supposed to provide service for different banks. And if you are something related to requester level, so you are like service requesting, you are like downstream applications. So they just wanted to check each and everything related to your structure. So this as a whole, we call it as organization structure. In organization structure, not only our internal design, external applications and external databases are also to be connected. As I earlier told you in the previous class, from our application, maybe this as our application. So we will be connecting to third-party application. From there, they will be processing to their database level. This is one scenario. Okay, so you are requesting with third-party application. They will try to process here. In this whole scenario, their database will not be exposed to us. And there will be some other scenarios where their DB will be directly given access. So all these are external integrations. This is external application integrating. This is external database integrating. So your application is connected with what are all the external things also they wanted to look at this design. So to what extent you currently worked in this application, they wanted to know. So this as a whole, we call it as organization structure. And whatever you are seeing highlighted here, so this we call it as application structure. So how many applications your organization is having and how many frameworks are connected. So whether this is like OOTB framework or not. OOTB meaning something from Pega. Okay, so and within this framework, how many extra other things are connected? Why are you maintaining this extra thing? Can't we connect to the existing one? Whatever it is. Depending upon your current structure, they might ask you few questions. Okay. So clear, right, everyone? Any questions so far? So as of now, we are just understanding something about like framework application importance. Or so far we understood applications are of two types. What are those? Framework and implementation. So what do you mean by framework? Which will be maintaining all the reusable components. And what is like implementation? Which will be maintaining only specific components to that application. So depending upon the structure or maybe complication, frameworks can be multiple. And in the real time, generally you as a developer, after you joining one company, you will be given access for implementations only. Getting my point? So today you will be given with some ID and password, right? So this is your actual Pega screen will be. And here you are supposed to enter with your ID and password, you have to log in. So after you logging in, it will take you to some implementations only. Okay, if it is given for only implementation, okay, maybe if I have to maintain something at framework level, what to do? So these things you have to correlate. Okay, we'll understand slowly. So ultimately you'll be getting access only for implementations, not to every framework, but still you are supposed to maintain few things at framework. How to do that, how to get that access, these things we'll talk about. Okay, so far everyone clear? Any questions, anyone? So online everyone clear, right? No questions, right?
Yeah, no questions.
So we're understanding something about application structure and organization structure. Okay, so with this knowledge, we'll understand how to create frameworks and how to create implementation applications. And after we creating, how to log in internally and how to design maybe screen number one, that is UI part, and how to take care of backend part and what will be about like reporting and other things. Okay, fine. So this is what actually the Pega screen where you are supposed to log in and do all those things. Okay, and this particular screen, how we will get that we have to know. Okay, and whatever the screen I'm getting it now, so this from here, everything will be same from our personal edition, what we're trying to do. And even after you joining some company, from here, everything will be same. But getting the screen process will be little different. So here, so Pega personal edition. So this is one thing what will have it. And Pega enterprise edition. So this is something what you'll see. Okay, enterprise edition will be running on cloud. Okay, so all our office related things will be running on this one only. And this will be having only 30 days trial for our practice purpose. That is the reason we could not able to train you on this one. So we'll make you to download one personal edition and there we'll try to practice. Okay, so whatever the task you do here, everything will be same here, 100% same. Okay, so this particular screen in our personal edition, we have to install it manually. And here no such installation concept. So how to install this personal edition, this we have to know. So for that, what I'll do is, today I'll share you one file. Okay, so whatever the file you have to download, and I'll share you one video also. Okay, so step by step, what you have to follow in downloading and what are the steps to be installing everything. Okay, so by this time, I think I have shared with the people who has requested. So if not, you just send me a WhatsApp message. Please share like personal edition file. This is what you just drop a message today. So I'll send you that video as well as file. And just to make this perfectly downloaded, so there will be something kind of laptop requirements related. So it will be working only on Windows operating system. If you're having something different, maybe Mac or other things, it will not work. Okay, so it will be working only on Windows. And people who are like using other operating systems, what they will do is they have to again install Windows in their machines, maybe MacBook or so. And then on top of it only Pega will work. Okay, fine. It must be Windows and that to make sure it has Windows 10 or 11. It can be different version also, Windows 8, 7 also it will work, but in future database related issues might be like little problem. So what we suggest you is go for Windows 10 or 11. Since you're like beginners, whatever I say in the class, it must be easily correlated for you. Okay, and make sure it must be like minimum 8 GB RAM, minimum of. Okay, so these days everyone is having like 16 GB. So minimum 8 GB is like must. Okay, and it should be like 64-bit operating system and make sure it has SSD hard disk, whatever it is. So whatever the file or document I give it to you, there you'll see even laptop requirements also. Make sure you start downloading today itself and make sure you get this particular screen. After everything is successfully downloaded and installed, you should be getting this blue color Pega login page. So for this, there will be one server running in the background. So you are downloading, you are running that server. Once the server is up, so there will be one URL generated. Automatically system will generate one URL. So this with this URL, I can get this login page. Fine. And after we are done and everything, task will be doing it here. And with this knowledge, maybe after your 4 months of your training, if you go to the related software companies and there, so there, if you ask your manager about like Pega software, then they will easily think about that you are not completely experienced. Okay, so there will not be installation concept at all in your in your office related things. So don't simply go to your manager and say like my laptop is just 2 GB RAM. So don't say like what version of Pega I have to download. So downloaded version will you provide or will I have to take care? Never talk about installation related things at office level. So here what will happen until something kind of cloud URL will be generated. Suppose whatever the URL I'm seeing it now, if I copy and send it to in WhatsApp, just this URL if I send it to in WhatsApp. So in your laptop, can you get it without installing? Will you get this Pega login page? Tell me online people.
No, no,
You will
No.
not, you'll not get it. So maybe if this URL, I'm copying it, I'm trying to open something different browser. In my laptop itself, I wanted to open Firefox browser or Edge browser or something incognito mode. So can I get this blue color login page? Come on. Yes or no? Yes. Yes, I'll get it. So what are you understanding? So this URL is completely working in my server range only or in my laptop range or server range only. So exactly same thing happens in your real time also. So in the real time, your client, what they will do is your client might be at USA location. So they will be getting Pega license. And here network team, they will take care of installation, whatever we are installing it now manually. So no doubt their installation will be happening manually. And after this server is running out, no doubt one URL will be generated. And within this client range, maybe I'm a developer from India. You are a tester from Australia and some other person maybe from Japan. So we all will be connected to the client network, right? So day one, whenever I'm entering to this client related thing, they will ask me to connect it to client network, maybe using VPN or whatever it is. So you are connecting to the client range. So the URL what are being generated, it works everywhere in that client network. That is what happening here. So whatever the server running out, it will be running everywhere in that URL range. So day one, you have to ask your manager about your development URL. You should never talk anything about installation. So they'll share you one URL. And if you hit that URL in any browser, you'll get this page. And this particular page is actually common for every one of us. Every one of us in the sense, I'm a developer. I'll get similar page, right? And if you are a tester, so you also will get the same thing. Maybe the real bank employees, everyone, they'll get the same screen. So this is like development related. And this is my testing team. And maybe this has like ultimately the real users. So here the real users, real bank employees, what they will do. So if a new person joining as a bank clerk today, so still they will be getting one URL. Their bank manager should give one URL for him. And the same login page is what they'll get. So in this same login page, here if you're seeing something like Pega as the logo, they might get confused, right? So they're working for Citibank and this is to design something like credit card related. What is this Pega logo all about? Okay, so that is the reason client after purchasing this Pega related. So first thing they might think about customizing this login page. So whatever the login page you are seeing, they'll remove Pega logo. They'll include Citibank logo and they'll change everything to white and red color. And they'll make like first name and last name side by side. And maybe if they're simply clicking on login button, they wanted to show something error messages as the pop-up, whatever. They'll start designing, customizing this login page. But no one is allowed to change this login button. So this login button, I can make this placed somewhere to the right corner or bottom, whatever it might be. So its background color might be changed, but on click of this, whatever generally happens, that should not be disturbed from development end. Getting my point? So here, what is there on that login button that we have to know? And finally, suppose if I'm a Pega developer, I have to log in and do something, right? I have to do some design, and same thing will be deployed to testing team. So here login screen will be latestly deployed, and all the internal screens, whatever I have designed, those will be updated. Everything likewise. So this particular Pega application, developers are logging in, testers are logging in and testing it. Real users will log and do their real business related things. Whoever is logging into this Pega screen, those are technically called as operators. Getting my point? Those are technically called as operators in Pega. Okay. So today, after you joining company, you have to ask your manager two things. So can you please give me development URL? So can you please create one operator ID for me? These two things is what you have to request. It's not about like installation related things. You have to talk about these two. Okay, fine. So finally, whoever is logging into Pega, they are like operators. So by the way, who all will log in generally, tell me? No doubt developers are supposed to log in and do things. And the testing team, they have to log in and test it. And real users, they have to log in. Okay, Inka? Business analyst, admins. So n number of operator types will be there. This I'll explain tomorrow. Okay, so getting my point, online, everyone clear? So we are supposed to understand what is operator all about. And if I'm trying to enter my operator ID and password, on click of login button, what will happen? These things you have to talk. Clear, right, everyone? Any doubts or any questions? Okay. So whoever is looking for Pega installation, please drop a message. Okay. And people who has decided, so start enrolling so that you'll be getting all the things related, even documents and everything. Okay. Okay, then meet tomorrow. Thank you.